We already talked about using solar rails during solar panel installation. This is the Dutch pipe. We will consider already, you know that when you are running your cables without using the Dutch pipe, your your cables or your wires will be exposed to sun, they will be exposed to rain, and you know what that can lead to. So it's always good to use Dutch pipe so that you do your installation professionally, and all these things will add to the cost of the installation, and certainly when you follow all these professional practices, there is no way your solar pan or your solar installation will not stand the test of time, because you have put into considerations all those small details we talked about in solar installation 101. So another nugget you have to consider before you connect your solar panels, be it series, parallel, or series connection, is you have to minimize excessive running of PV cables to avoid voltage drop. If you have been in the solar industry, you will certainly understand what I mean by voltage drop. Voltage drop. This is not the time to talk about voltage drop, how to calculate voltage drop, how to calculate cable size, and how to size your breakers. We are considering the solar panel here. So you have to always minimize where am I going to get my output? How am I going to run my cable so that I don't use excessive length of cable? And when you take all those into cognizance, it will really help boost the output that you will have when you are talking about solar system installation. Then you have to always ensure that you use MC4 during your solar panel interconnection. Then how we want to show you how we or the connections are always done in the field. So this is MC4 diagrammatically. Diagrammatically, this is your MC4. It might be two-way, it might be four-way, depending on how you are connecting parallel, series, and the rest. So please, as a professional, I am saying please, as a professional, always ensure that when you are doing your connection, you make use of MC4. When you are we see some installers, they cut the solar probe. They just use their hand and type it. Before they know it, they will use the tape. The tape, it's very wrong. Before you know it, corrosion will take place. Water will drip into the cable, and before you know it, you hang it, and before you know it, one thing will lead to another. Before you know it, the entire probe goes bad. So professionally, when you are doing your interconnection or when you are paralleling your panels, anyhow you want to do it, don't cut it and join it. Always ensure that you use scripting tool. We use when we will be talking about solar panels, solar system tools. We will show you how to use each of the two when you are on site. As a professional, you need all the tools that will help you work effectively. It's important to use the best scripting tool to do this work. If you are using your MC4 connectors, you are sure of getting the best out of the installation. And it will be very difficult, if not impossible, for water or for corrosion to take place when you are using your MC4 appropriately, and you use the needed tripping tool for that purpose. With those things in place, you can start thinking of how you are going to connect your solar panels, be it in series, be it in parallel. Those nuggets that we have given you are some of the details, some of the small details you have to consider as a professional before you start thinking of, am I going to connect my solar panels? Am I going to connect it in series? Am I going to connect it in parallel? Am I going to connect it in series and parallel connection? But we already said that before you think of connecting your solar panel, you have to determine the panel parameters, and you equally have to determine other parameters, other components on site and their rating. And before you start connection, you should always ask yourself the best possible way that you have to do your connection. Is it going to be in series, then in parallel? How are you going to arrange the solar panels? Your roof racking as well should as well inform you of how you are going to connect your solar installation. All these things and many more are what we teach in the planning stage. When you start, this this is the planning that we are talking about. The planning stage is very paramount when you are venturing into any installation. How do you plan your powerhouse? How do you plan your running of cable? How do you manage your cable so that you don't have much voltage drop after the installation? Because when you have voltage drop, it's going to certainly affect. There is a value for it. There is an allowed value for it. When you be talking about voltage drop and cable sizes, we will get to understand the allowed figure that you have to, by standard, you have to adhere to. So these are some of the things you have to consider. You have to always use solar rails. You have to always use solar rails when you are thinking of doing any installation. And you must always use your MC4 connectors and appropriately use the best or a very good clipping tool to connect your solar panels. Thank you.